presenting on project writing. And I'm really excited because the first question that was coming was kind of trying to hammer on the things I'm going to present now. Because your question, you were asking about allocating you to somebody who maybe you don't like her area of interest or not. Now, for the undergraduate project, it is different, slightly different from research. And we're going to see the differences here. Thank you very much. So I'm going to be making this presentation under this outline. We'll have introduction. Why do we have to research? The chairperson has already said some things about that. What's the difference between research and project writing? We're going to be looking at the undergraduate project itself, conceptualizing the project topic, writing the project, responsibilities of the students, supervision, roles, and responsibilities of the supervisor. Next slide, please. Now, at the end of this presentation, it's expected that you should be able to define research in general and enumerate the characteristics of research. Secondly, you should be able to differentiate between project writing and research itself. You should also understand the broad divisions involved in the undergraduate research process and know the roles and responsibilities of the student researcher. And also appreciate the essence of supervision in your project writing. Like the chairperson has said, without a good supervision, you end up being frustrated. Introduction. The undergraduate project is the future of most, although not all undergraduate programs in all Nigerian universities. We say that because even in UI, it is not, compulsory for every department. There are some departments we learned don't do undergraduate projects in their final years. So that's why we say in most, not all. Students in the final year of the bachelor's degree are required to carry out a substantial piece of individual research, usually up to 10,000 words approximately. That means your project as a whole should not be less than 10,000 words. That's the lower bound. The project is often described as the culmination of the degree program. It consolidates the students' understanding of the discipline. At the end of your project work, you realize that whatever topic was of interest to you from your 100 level to your 400 level, you begin to appreciate and understand it very well by the time you must have carried out a research project on it. Next slide, please. It helps to develop a deeper approach to learning as students delve deeper into the topic through reviewing the current state of knowledge, identifying areas for further research, collecting and analyzing data, and writing up all their findings. The project demonstrates the students' capacity as independent and autonomous learners as they take responsibility for their topic and direct their research. Of course, like she has said earlier, you are solely responsible for your topic. Through their research, students acquire valuable transferable skills which will be of benefit to them in the world of work. Problem definition, problem solving, project management, statistical and research skills, analytical and evaluative skills also. Completion of the project is also an invaluable preparation for postgraduate research and is also an indicator of the students' potential in this area. Of course, some of us, after our degree program here, might want to go further to MScs and PhD. So this will prepare you into all that. Now, what is research? I hope my friend there will listen very well to know the difference between research and project writing. The word research is derived from the French word rechercher, which means to go about seeking. The term itself being derived from the old French term rechercher, which is a compound word from re and chercher, which means to go about, to look for something, to seek for something. Research has been defined in a number of different ways. A broad definition of research is given by Martin Shuttleworth. And in the broadest sense of the word, the definition of research includes any gathering of data, information, and facts for the advancement of knowledge. Another definition of research is given by Creswell, who states that research is a process of steps used to collect and analyze information to increase our understanding of a topic or issue. Research is also a scientific inquiry aimed at learning new facts, testing ideas, and so on and so forth. It is a systematic collection, analysis, and interpretation of data to generate new knowledge and answer certain questions or solve a problem. Now, the question why research is a very important one. It is a very important one because it seeks to know the importance of research projects. It is no gainsaying that we have always lived in a world full of so many facts yet to be known and yet to be discovered. And as you'll agree with me, man was created curious and inquisitive. When you look at what is going on today, you know, people going into space to look for something is also research. Is that not? They are carrying out research because they are curious. They want to know what is there. You know, there was a time they said that some people went to Mars and realized that there were living things, creatures in it. That's the curiosity of man. Man is always inquisitive to know what is inside this AC. What components, what are the things that they have used to couple this AC together. And of course in Nigeria, you realize that they will dismantle it, but to put it back again becomes a very big problem to us. Next slide, please. Due to the fact that he was always surrounded by this situation, man found himself being compelled to search for answers to this wide range of unknowns as a precondition for his survival in his environment. So of course it is not out of place for man to go on searching and searching and searching, which is research. Characteristics of research. Research demands a clear statement of the problem. By the time you don't have a clear statement of problem, you might not know what to even research on. Is that clear? You have to really define a problem. Somebody is going to talk on problems and tell you what it is all about. It requires a plan, and the plan is what we call the proposal, the research proposal. It has to be a planned thing. It's not just aimlessly looking for something and at the end you hope to come out, to come across a solution without a plan. It builds on existing data. Of course, when we say existing data, secondary data, we have secondary data, but you can also carry use what we call primary data. For those of us in statistics, I know you must have been taught that too. New data should be collected as required and be organized in such a way that they answer the research questions. Next slide. We're going to now look at the difference between research and project writing. Now, the new Webster Dictionary of the English Language defines project as a course of action intended or considered possible. It is a systematic planned undertaking. It goes further to define research project as a set of tasks for a class of school children in which for a given period of time subjects are taught with special reference to some chosen topics, and pupils are encouraged to make independent inquiries to supplement formal teaching. Students even in primary school are given at times what they call term paper to go and work on. They give them a topic of interest and tell them to go. These days I know that secondary students go as far as writing projects also. They give them projects. I have kids, they come home, they say, Mommy, I have a project to submit so and so day. And of course, they begin to write abstract and write the rest. And you begin to wonder in secondary school they are doing this. Now, writing on the other hand is a process of arranging words in logical order and carefully chosen so that a reader can understand what the writer means clearly and concisely. Now, when you are writing, we're not saying that everything you're writing should come from your head. Is that clear? It shouldn't come from your head. You're going to research literatures, past work on the issue you're working on. And writing is the ability for you to be able to put this work or what you have been able to research on logically, so that anybody picking it up to read will be able to make sense out of it. It becomes clear from the above statement that both project writing and research point to the same thing except in slightly different ways. Now, what am I talking about there? From what I have said so far, you agree with me that research is an investigative undertaking, is that not? Project work is also an investigative undertaking. But I want to make clear point here that research is an advanced type of project writing, and that is why in the university and the academia we hear things like project writing in the undergraduate level, just like you're going to be doing very soon. We have what we call dissertations for the master's program. When you go on to your MSc work, you'll be hearing about dissertation, your MSc dissertation. Is a research, and it is at that point, like in my department, what we do, statistics. It is in the master's level that at the end of the first semester we give out papers for the students to pick their areas of interest to help us allocate the students to different people in that area, so that we don't allocate a student to somebody where his or her interest is not. Then you also hear of thesis in the PhD level. So thesis is for the PhD project work or something like that. Then the dissertation is for the MSc, and project writing is for the undergraduate, the bachelor's program. Now, although both refer to the process of conducting an investigation, research tends to be associated more with the advance. I've said that already. Please, next slide. Now, much importance, like the chairperson has said, is always attached to project writing and presentation, and every student researcher is expected to put in his or her best. This has been said already. There is no way you want to do a good project, and just call somebody else to come and help you write that work. Because at the end of the day, even when you're sending things to your supervisor, you realize that they'll be so incoherent. Is that clear? So you have to put in all your best. The project therefore provides the student with the opportunity to design, undertake, or conduct an independent research or study related to his or her degree course. Now, by the time your supervisor tells you, go and get topics and come, let me look at. The process of searching for the topic alone is enough for you, because by the time you do it yourself, you realize that in that process, you're learning new things. You're becoming an independent researcher. The project carries an equivalent of 2/3 unit credits depending on the degree course. The number of credits is reflected in the amount of time a student is expected to devote to the project. Now, agree that you're distance learners. Some of us might say, I'm not seeing the supervisor. We have been told that this supervision is the best, so there's no need to put in effort in this thing. But I tell you, most of the courses we do, or we take are 3 units. Now, look at the situation where you have to be assessed on one particular course, which is project writing, and it's carrying 6 units. So that means if you're not a serious student and you don't do your work very well, you end up scoring 40. And by the time they multiply that by the 6 units, of course, you know that what that will do to your CGPA. Each student is allocated to a supervisor or supervisors, who is normally a member of the academic staff. Of course, in the undergraduate level, we can't allocate a student to maybe 2 or 3 supervisors at the same time. It's only in the MSc level that we begin to do that. Typically, a project of 6 credits will require about 90 hours. Of course, we know that 1 credit unit equals 15 hours. However, there may be variations across faculties. For instance, the total credit units for a project, like in the faculty of Agric, their project work is not, I think it's 4 units here in the University of Ibadan. Next slide, please. And of course, it lasts for 2 semesters. But I think in the distance learning program, you start your project in your 400 level and round up in your 500 level. Some of you here have already completed your project, but it's good you're here so that if there is any need for you to make amendments, you can still do that. Characteristics of the undergraduate project. Now, what are the features or the characteristics of the undergraduate project? According to Toddler 2004, the main characteristics of the undergraduate project includes that the students select the topics. Now, you are the one to choose your topic. And here I'm going to say some things, because some of you in statistics department, I'm sure some of you are here. Those allocated to me will come to me, ma, please, we want you to give us a project topic. Now, if I give you a topic, you might not be able to really satisfy me on that topic. So it is better for you to research and come up with a good topic. Is that clear? I'm not saying that if the the topic is not okay, I will tell you to go ahead, or I will reject it outrightly. If it's something that can be worked on, a supervisor can help you to look at it critically and ask you to go on. The research involves a series of stages: selection of your topic, preparation of research proposal, somebody is going to talk about it, the ethical approval, because like in some departments, the nursing faculty will soon come on board in the distance learning. Some of them, they have to get approval from the ethical unit and all that before they can even collect their data. Collection of data, analysis, and write-up, in some programs. For example, I've mentioned that already. The research project represents a prolonged engagement with the work, often one academic year or longer, and the project fulfills a dual purpose in that it is both a learning tool and an assessment tool also. Of course, at the end of the day, it's going to be assessed, and a learning tool for you because at the end of the day, you'll be able to master some of the theories you have been given in the course of your program. In summary, the undergraduate project, typically is a final year work. Of course, those in 100 to 300 level, we're not asking them to come and do project. It's typically a final year work. It's a major piece of work of the student, and it's the learner that determines focus and the direction. Work is carried out on an individual basis, but small group projects increasingly, is a common thing. This especially, I think, in education and in arts also. Work is also supervised. Of course, we're not saying that because it's an independent work, you don't need a supervisor. You have to be supervised also. Work also involves stages, usually including a substantial research component. Prolonged engagement with a topic, usually the biggest piece of work a student has tackled, because of course from your 100 to 400 level, nobody would have bothered you with maybe even a 10 paper, and so on and so forth. Although certainly the first experience of the research process from start to finish, of course it is from this stage that you begin to do research. You have a topic, you want to write on a particular topic, you have to search literatures to be able to get information on what you want to talk about. And of course, substantial independence is expected. You expect that an independent work, in as much as there is a supervisor. Functions of the undergraduate project. What are the functions of the undergraduate project that we're expecting you to write? The undergraduate project also has several educational functions, regardless of the kind of work the students will enter into after graduation. One, it provides the students with an opportunity to integrate their full coursework knowledge with professional applications. Some people, like those in statistics department, I use that because that is my department. Those of us in statistics department, some will tell you they want to go into the banking sector at the end of their graduation. Some will tell you they want to go into this, they want to go into that. So the project gives you an opportunity to integrate what you have been, you have been taught in the class and what you intend to do maybe after graduation. For those of you who want to go into the banking, you might, prefer econometrics and time series and so on and so forth. Now, it provides preliminary research training for those students who intend to pursue higher degrees. I've said that before, that it provides you, of course, while you're doing the research, the undergraduate project work, you begin to gather knowledge on what the MSc work will entail, because proper literature search will help you to define the problem. Is that clear? And when you do that very well as an undergraduate, of course, when you move on to your MSc, you don't have so much problem again. If the student does not intend to pursue a research career, the skills acquired in project work will be valuable in all kinds of independent investigation and report writing later in your workplace. Next slide, please. Conceptualizing the project topic. A good research project should not be done in a rush. The chairperson talked about it too. This implies that a student researcher preparing to produce a research project needs to follow some necessary steps, such as one, she mentioned identifying a plausible and researchable topic or title. We have spent so much on title and topic that you have to come up with. And it has to be something that is researchable. You don't just from the blues get a topic and ask your supervisor, this is the topic I have and I want to work on it. You have to identify, we have talked about that, you take time to read around it, be ready to always submit, work in chapters, that has been talked about, and also ensure that your dominant tense is the present tense. Of course, I'm sure a lot of us here have gone through the GES course. Now, undertaking the project. Students are expected to start working on the project after allocation to the supervisors. The student's copy of the project title approval form. Now, this form is going to be given to you by the DLC. And by the time that form is given back to you, it's an approval that your supervisor has approved the topic you submitted. And it's a go-ahead for you to start work on your project. Now, the student writing his project is expected to read extensively. We have done that. Take time to read around the chosen topic. Be prepared to follow the laid down format, which you will be given very soon. That's the handbook, the guide that will be given to you very soon by the Distance Learning Center. You must keep all raw data and questionnaire that has been talked about, because by the time you lose your raw data and the questionnaire at the end of your work, and somebody has to reanalyze your work, and you say, oh, it's missing, then that means you have to go back and start administering questionnaires and so on. You must submit your works in chapters to your supervisor that has been talked about, and be ready for mentoring at every stage of the project. Don't think your supervisor is too harsh. Try to maintain a very cordial relationship with whoever person you have been allocated to. Now, what are your responsibilities as student researchers? There are some responsibilities we want you to also know as somebody who is going to undertake the project writing. First thing is that you must read and abide by the regulations that is contained in the the handbook that you will be given very soon. There are rules and regulations that has been stated there, and you must follow it well. That is very, very well, because by the time you don't follow the guideline, you submit your project just like that. Your supervisor will just throw it back at you and tell you to go and follow the guideline that you already have it. So once DLC gives you this guideline, please try to read it thoroughly, through and through. Understand everything. Somebody is going to talk about some of those guidelines here. You will know them, but even at that, you still have to read the guideline very well, because you might think you understand everything here. There might be some things which we have not mentioned here that will also be in the guideline. The student shall seek advice, comments, and guidance from his or her supervisor on the nature of the project and standards expected. Of course, different supervisors expect different standards from their students. So it is best for you to liaise with whoever is your supervisor to come up with a very standard work. A student working on his, students are advised also to keep a notebook for the purpose of the meeting with their supervisor. It's always good to keep. These are going to be contained in the handbook, so you get them. Arranging with his or her supervisor at mutually agreed convenient times to discuss progress achieved in the event that meetings are not possible. Of course, emails and other forms, which is going to be talked about by the person taking his supervision, should be used. Bringing to the urgent attention of the supervisor any problems associated with the progress of the project. For instance, somebody said, if you're going to work with a secondary data, the organization might keep telling you, come back today, come back tomorrow. You have to report such problems to your supervisor so that if there is need to extend the deadline, your supervisor can do that for you. Responding timely to the supervisor's suggestion or criticism on his or her work. Some students, we have found out, are in the habit of your supervisor makes a correction and asks you to go and effect it and submit on so and so date. Some will say, I'm not seeing my supervisor, So I can tell my supervisor that the internet is not working or whatever. If there is a problem with your internet, if your supervisor has set out a deadline for you, I think it is right for you to tell your supervisor or to send a mail or whatever this tool you're going to be using to tell your supervisor that, sorry, master, that this is the problem I'm encountering. I will do it. It is also the responsibility of the student to ensure that all information is accurate. If the student is unable to contact his or her supervisor, he or she should contact the project coordinator for assistance. Of course, every department has a deputy coordinator for distance learning, is that not? If you can't contact your supervisor on any problem, the next person you should contact is the deputy coordinator, who at the same time is the person that would have allocated you to supervisors also. Now, the student also will take responsibility for the design methodology, and presentation of the project work. Of course, this is the main work you have to do. The methodology, you have to choose it yourself, but your supervisor is still in the business of guiding you. Whether the methodology you have chosen is the right one or the wrong one, your supervisor will advise you on that. Now, it is also the responsibility of the student to ensure all information is accurate and complete. In terms of referencing, you consulted a material, and the material you have consulted, you did not include it in your reference. Please, you should make sure that all these things are included. Now, supervision. The chairperson also talked about supervision and told us that the quality of research from undergraduate students is greatly attributed to both the supervisors and supervisees' efforts to do all activities that are offered in the specific research being undertaken. Now, it is your duty to go by the guidelines and also maintain a very good relationship with your supervisor, because if you don't have a good relationship with your supervisor, maybe you're the type that will call your supervisor by 12 midnight and say that is the only time you have time to talk. Of course, the supervisor, if he's not comfortable, if he's not the type that works late, and you call at that time of the day, might take offense and it will create a problem for you as a supervisee. Is that clear? There are several ways through which research can be supervised. Of course, somebody is going to talk about it. Here, in the face-to-face whatever, we see our students and we supervise them on the face-to-face whatever. But for you as the ODL students, what we're trying to do is to encourage you and introduce the e-supervision aspect of it so that you can take advantage of it also. Next slide, please. The supervisory role helps to serve as a reflective practice through which the supervisee can ask questions about what is not clear to them and modify their research activities. Now, even though we have said that your project writing is, it should be exclusively independent, you still have the right to ask if there is anything you're reading, maybe in terms of the methodology you want to apply, you don't understand it properly, your supervisor can still help you to explain it very well to you. Both the supervisor and the supervisee's experience can be undertaken through traditional or the modern technological means. Today, technology has encouraged both the supervisor and supervisee to keep in touch, manage their activities, operate effectively, and share experience despite the great barriers that may exist. It is in this line that the Distance Learning Center has organized this workshop for you to be able to know that you can tap into these new technologies in the writing of your project. The roles and responsibilities of the supervisor. Now, even though we have said that the supervisor's work is not so much, he still has some roles to play in your project writing. And one of those roles is that his primary function is to provide to the student an overall guidance of the project and to suggest corrective measures when the student's performance is not satisfactory. The supervisor will also assist the student in clarifying topics. I've mentioned that you bring a topic and it is not too okay, your supervisor will clarify the topic. He will guide the student on appropriate methodologies, maintain regular supervisory contacts, inform students when his or her work is below standard, read and comment on draft of reports. Thank you very much. My time is over too.